Tim Hollinsworth, VS Engineering. We are at 8585 Broadway in Merrillville, Suite 725.
Watch this, I'll help them, because that's scary.
Oh, thank you.
Boy, look at that,
Yeah.
quiet. You want this one?
Yes.
Look at that. Dan's helping things out.
Thank God, Dan's here. Thank you, Dan. Very good. Perfect. All right.
Don't say that too loud.
As previously mentioned, this is to cover the Hendricks Street Drainage Improvement Project. There it goes. So this is for the town of Merrillville, the Department of Stormwater Utility. I'm Tim Hollinsworth. Unfortunately, Matt Lake could not be in attendance this evening. He had a conflict to ride.
Yes.
So this project's located in the northwest corner of the town of Merrillville. This is on the west side of Broadway, even further west of Taft 55, and it's north of 30 and north of 73rd. So zooming into the project location, this is between the Grand Trunk Western Railroad as well as Turkey Creek. So one key issue, this spot is on the east side of Hendricks, just south of the railroad where the water does not drain properly. There's also a ditch on the west side of the street that often floods after heavy rains. The town of Merrillville wants to solve both of these problems with this project. Since Lake County Parks owns a large portion of the land on the west side of the street, they will be involved in this project too. In addition to reducing flooding, the project includes features that help protect the environment. We're installing special drainage made of renewable plastic, 60% renewable. That's the HDPE. This will add recyclability and improve the environment throughout there. Overall, this work will improve the drainage in the area and help protect Turkey Creek. On the screen is the funding requests for this project. It's important to note that the drainage issues we're addressing are currently affecting more than 10 properties in the area, causing ongoing issues such as standing water, yard flooding, and very limited access during heavy rain events. This slide shows the funding application for the project. As we've discussed, these drainage issues are not isolated. They're impacting over 10 properties in the area, leading to frequent flooding and long-standing maintenance concerns. Securing funding will help this project move forward with meaningful improvements that provide long-term relief and better stormwater management for the community. I also want to emphasize that once completed, the town of Merrillville is Department of Stormwater Management will own and maintain this infrastructure moving forward. So where did all this come from? There was an engineering analysis done. This outlines the analysis and then defined the scope as well as the urgency for this project. First, we looked at the homes directly impacted by the flooding, the driveways, the roadways in front of several addresses along Hendricks Street, specifically 2000 West 56th. We also looked at 6127, 6304, and 6500. They all experience flooding periodically. This is mainly due to poor ditch grading, the lack of maintenance and drainage spots that are clogging at both ends of the affected area. As part of this project, we're proposing to remove and replace those impacted driveways and the old undersizing and failing culverts underneath them. We'll also be cleaning out the clogged drainage points and restoring proper flow and reducing standing water issues the residents have been faced with. So this slide outlines the estimated costs and key benefits of this project. And shown on the screen, the total project cost is around $424,000 and some change. The benefits are significant in across different areas. First, the project will reduce eliminating flooding along Hendricks and the driveways of the 5 affected properties, as we discussed previously. Second, this will be resolving ongoing ponding issues in the western ditch line, which has been a ongoing problem. Finally, the improvement will also address longstanding drainage issues on the east side of Hendricks, specifically at 6127. To date, reported the flood damage has impacted the homes by $20,000. And that's over the last 10 years. By replacing the ditch system with a gravity-driven drainage solution that will discharge points at both ends of the project, this will help minimize maintenance needs and hopefully not need anything major over the next 30 years. This photo shows one example of the flooding areas.
Am I looking north or south? Because you're doing west and east on me, but I don't have a reference point.
Yes, so this is looking south. So this is on the west side of the road.
Thank you.
Yep. So this photo is one example of flooding that we're aiming to fix. This is just standing water, and adding a gently sloped will help facilitate this water in either direction. This direction would be going north towards the railroad. We are also trying to do more than just move the water. We're also trying to increase the vegetation in this area. Due to standing water like this, there's a lack of vegetation that can grow, and hopefully this will then encourage that vegetation growth.
As long as it's not Phragmites.
Correct. So as we've discussed, we've been under development and we've been moving forward. On the screen in front of you is an example of our title plan sheet. This is ready to move forward. However, as I will discuss, there's been further analysis that we've been doing that has hindered us moving forward. So the current project we're talking, this is the overall site plan. So this is extending up on the north side of the railroad, all the way south to Turkey Creek. So these are the right-of-way properties that we are working with. Of note, all of the easements have been received and the owners have signed all of them. So we're moving forward and we're good to move. So I mentioned additional analysis as to why we're not moving forward. So the yellow line on that map is our current project. There has been a recent development of issues in this white area outside of the Oaks Estate subdivision. So this area, as you can see by these photos, has ongoing drainage issues. We're looking at trying to resolve these, and these may tie into our project in some fashion. And so this is why we have not moved forward into construction. We're trying to figure out the best process of resolving these.
Is the white area that diagonal box in the lower right picture?
Correct. So the white area is the area of which the drainage concerns are lying. So, and they go all the way back to that cul-de-sac up towards the railroad. Now, it does not look deep, but I can guarantee you it is up to waist depth. Now, our surveyor is a little bit shorter than I, so it was up to his waist, not mine. Good. So next we want to discuss schedule. Looking at our schedule, we're trying to get this additional analysis completed by the end of this month so that we can move forward with our engineering and getting that all finalized by the end of May. We're hoping to have our plan review and contract book completed by the end of June so that we can start bidding at the beginning of August with the intent to award it in September and construction moving into next year. So, and the key item to note of all of this is that this is part of Merrillville's master storm plan. Any questions?
That it? All right, thank you, sir. All right, this gentleman just made that nice presentation. We'll get some lights and any questions for him? Mr. Whitaker.
Can you go back to the slide with the line items for the numbers? I want to know, what does line item 9 say? What is that amount? What is that? I think it's 67,000. What is the description?
That's common excavation.
Okay,
Is that it?
yes.
Mr. Castellanos?
I'd just like to know, first of all, it's a very good presentation you made, and I'd just like to know, what's the potential development, economic benefit, once this is granted to you? You mentioned development for construction. I'd just like to know, what is the development? Is there some plans, future plans out there?
So the cul-de-sac that we were mentioning in the Oak, I forget the name of that subdivision, I apologize. But the subdivision that we're looking at addressing that drainage issues,
Right.
that comes to a dead end.
Uh,
Having that drainage issue resolved could open opportunity for that to extend as needed. And then other parts of the area are not very well developed, so having that could also help move forward with that. Like I mentioned, we're also working with Lake County Parks, and they're looking at expanding one of these areas into a park as well.
Thank you.
So Mr. Hollingsworth, you said periodically it's flooding. What does that mean? Is that once a week, once every 5 years? That's one. You said it's only 10 homeowners that are on this street impacted by this?
10 plus, I think we were up to 13 the last I counted.
Okay, is there a ditch on both sides of this road?
So currently there's a ditch on one side, and the intent is for the drainage to move to the other side.
Say that
However,
part again?
There's a
ditch on
ditch
one
on the
side.
east side, which does not discharge all the way up. So it will collect water. There is no ditch on the west side that we are proposing a ditch as long as those,
But the road slopes that way
and the road slopes that way. So that's where the flooding is occurring.
because of the way the road is sloped.
But it's crown normal.
Right.
So-
Does the road flood?
In some events, yes. The events that we took was after
Prevents
a day.
people though, Tim, so tell us, give me a better idea what that is. In 2008, was it underwater? Like the rest of the county, we live on a swamp.
I would say, I would guess yes, in 2008. So the photos that we showed were after a rain event that occurred all day. So this is after a full day of rain.
So it doesn't impact the roadway.
So it does not impact the roadway on a regular basis, but as you can see in this photo, this driveway is already starting to flood, limiting their access in and out.
So this project is dig out one side or what existing ditch and build new ditches, so they'll both sides have a ditch?
No, so yes, so both sides have a ditch. The east side already has structures that are crossing to go into the west side. And so the new ditch will ensure that all of those are captured, as well as be able to discharge to either the north or to the south.
So who is responsible for the debris that's gonna collect under these driveways? The homeowners?
I-
Are we gonna create another situation for what we have elsewhere in the county or in the watershed where we have ditches on both sides, it gets full of garbage because nobody cleans it up and then they flood and we still have the same problem?
The stormwater department is actively engaged in addressing and maintaining this area.
Really? All over Merrillville?
Well, and they've committed to this project location to ensure that they can get proper flow.
Thank you. Any other questions for this young man?
Does the water on either side of Hendricks Street, does it just collect there and go into the ground, or does it go actually somewhere?
Currently,
Is there a drain somewhere where eventually the water is gonna run off towards Turkey Creek, or
so
is it just a swale on each side?
from the middle of the project south will drain towards Turkey Creek, and it will go through there, and there's a vegetation that will filter it into Turkey Creek. On the north side, it will be filtered as it approaches the railroad drainage, and that is tied into another drainage feature.
So eventually it's gonna go somewhere. Does it go anywhere right now, or it just collects?
Goes
Right
right there.
now, I believe the railroad collects. I don't know.
So
where-
it just sits up by the railroad and that's it?
Yes,
That
I
white
know
bo-
that they have structures that are,
That white box that you had drawn on that one slide,
yes,
Next to the cul-de-sac.
is that over there by, cause I'm looking at
That's to the east.
my map here. Is that by Waite Street? Is that where that is?
Yeah,
yes.
Up in here?
yeah.
Is that forest area? Is that developable or no? It's just it just collects there.
That's a wetland.
That,
I
it has just
guarantee
been
it's a wetland.
collecting there, and we're looking at how we can address that to keep that water from moving, because during these events, that water's backing up into the residences' backyards.
Uh-huh. Cause it doesn't go anywhere, right?
Right.
It's.
So we're
that's
trying to
where it
figure out
goes.
how to move that. Now, that is not getting to the railroad property.
So instead of flooding that, you want to flood another property? That's what I just heard.
The railroad has structures
I'm
that are
from the
not
region.
being maintained to move the water. And so we're trying to work with the railroad so that they can come out to properly clean those structures so the water can move.
I have a clarifying question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hollingsworth, did you say in your presentation that the past cost to date was $20,000 over 10 years?
For the property damage to the properties, yes.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Is that it?
I'm good.
Everybody good?
Thank you. I have a
All right,
question.
Mr. Ware.
Two questions, I guess. So you mentioned that the Lake County Parks is involved, and I see in the slide presentation that they're on the west side.
Yes.
Do they have any stake in the game as far as funding? Have you reached out to them to assist with any funding like you've reached out to us?
So we have been in talks with them and coordinating with them. They're not looking at improving that drainage area in this capacity. They're trying to make more of a wetland. And so coordinating with them as to getting the water off of the other residences and working with them so that we can discharge some of the water into their property to help them achieve their goals as well.
Okay, thank you. And then the white shaded box by the cul-de-sac. Who owns the property now? And looking at the overview map, you talked about possible development. Where would the access point be from there? And it seems with the railroad, the existing cul-de-sac, not a lot of options. And then the homeowners who own the property between the shaded box and Hendricks. I mean, is that really developable?
So one of the board members of the stormwater owns one of those properties, so I assume
Oh,
that there may be discussions that may be an idea of how that could be developable.
Thank you.
I'm not sure there.
thank you.
Now, in terms of your other question was it was moving the water, or I thought it was the second question.
No, you answered. Thank you.
Any other questions for this young man? Thank you, sir.